There's no business quite like show business. It'll be all right on the night, tonight at 8:10.
If you suffer pain at night and so have trouble getting to sleep, this is for you. New Panadol Night, the first and only painkiller to promise strong pain relief combined with a gentle sleep aid that will help you rest peacefully. And so, wake feeling good. New Panadol Night. Like an elephant, strong yet gentle. Have a great day.
We got you these.
They help protect the skin around your nose.
They're different to those dry tissues.
Feels like there's something on it.
It's a special balm, Ultra Balm.
New Kleenex Ultra Balm tissues leave behind a microfine balm with calendula to help protect your skin from drying out. New Kleenex Ultra Balm. Kleenex, a touch better.
Hearths are quite the favorite place for cats to slip into good grace. They stretch where flames highlight their fur, tuning the room with soothing purr. Sheba.
Ain't got no bread, ain't got no crisps, ain't got no nappies, ain't got no drink. So what have I got? Why do I smile anyway? What have I got that will save the day? Got my Spar new and made, got Spar brand, the choice is great. We got Spar!
Have you ever wondered just how much water we get for our money? Well, for about a penny, you can do your washing up. Or make about 20 cups of tea. Oh, luckily, around 15 pence worth can get your washing clean. Or if you want to get yourself clean, you can splash out around 15 pence on a bath, which just goes to show you get a lot more water for less than you think.
After eating strong food like pickles, chew double mint for double freshness. You never know when. You might need it. Double mint for minty fresh breath.
Thousands of people are disappearing to rent a copy of Eraser.
You'll be handling your personal security.
I'll make them disappear one by one.
Get down!
You're in an extremely high-risk situation.
And lots of them are showing up at Blockbuster Video, because we've got more copies than anybody else.
On Monday, a new series of Kavanagh QC. He wants to be found guilty.
Why would that be, Alex?
John Saul returns Monday at 8:30 on Anglia.
Now on Anglia, all this afternoon's news and sport from ITN.
From the studios of ITN, the news and sport, with Carol Barnes and Phil Mepham.
Welcome to the programme. The headlines today. Blair's plans for a Labour budget. The Tories say it's tax and spend. Shootout in Los Angeles as a bank robbery goes badly wrong.
And in sport, England's hopes of a Grand Slam are destroyed by France at Twickenham.
Tony Blair has revealed more details of the budget he's promised Labour would unveil within weeks of coming to power. The budget would introduce a windfall tax on the privatised utilities to raise money to help the young unemployed into work. The Conservatives say Mr Blair's pledge confirms Labour would simply raise taxes and spending. Our political correspondent Hugh Pym reports.
After Labour's by-election triumph, Tony Blair has his sights more firmly set on government. Today he said the top priority for Labour's first budget would be getting jobless young people into work or training, funded by the levy on privatised utilities.
That early budget will be the welfare to work budget. The Treasury introducing the first stage of our modernisation programme for the welfare state. And the purpose of that programme is not to raise public spending, not some hidden public spending plan as the Conservatives have it, but it is to reduce public spending on unemployment.
But the Tories claimed the windfall levy showed Labour still believed in taxing and spending.
To have a July budget, which is increasing public spending for all these causes and bringing in billions of pounds worth of new taxation in order to pay for it, is undermining the economic achievements we have in place.
As Paddy Ashdown told Scottish Liberal Democrats, the Tories were squabbling amongst themselves like rats in a sack. One senior Conservative said his party must pull together to avoid election defeat.
Well, I think one of the things it's got to do is we've really got to stop arguing between ourselves. We cannot have a week like the last week, where Ted Heath criticised and attacked the government, where Norman Tebbit attacked Michael Heseltine.
And for now, Mr Blair is smiling. With just 2 months left till the likely polling day, time for a Conservative comeback is fast running out. Hugh Pym, ITN, Westminster.
2 armed robbers died and 15 people were injured when a raid on a bank in Los Angeles turned into a shootout with police. The violence began when the robbers bungled the raid and turned their guns on the bank's customers. Terry Lloyd reports.
The gunmen, protected by body armour, showed no fear as they took on the might of the Los Angeles Police Department. Officers admit they were outgunned and had to go to a local weapons store for more firepower. During the hour-long gunfight, the bank robbers used up hundreds of rounds of armour-piercing bullets.
He must have fired over 500 rounds. Unbelievable. It was like a war zone, and he just kept doing it, and the cops were all pinned down. One of them was bleeding pretty bad.
From helicopters, TV cameras captured the entire drama, which came to an end when desperate police chiefs called in tanks, dogs, and a battering ram.
A firefight occurred that was horrendous.
Eventually, both gunmen were cornered and shot dead, one of them as he fired at police through the windscreen of the car which was shielding him. Officers say that although it felt like fighting against a militia group, there were just 2 organised but brutal bank robbers who'd carried out a series of raids. Terry Lloyd, ITN.
Thousands of anti-government protesters have been involved in renewed violent clashes with riot police in the Albanian capital Tirana. It follows an overnight gun battle in the port town of Vlorë, in which 9 people died. Yesterday, thousands gathered at the university there in a continuing demonstration of national anger over the collapse of government saving schemes. And in Germany, thousands of anti-nuclear protesters turned out for one of the biggest demonstrations the country's seen. They're angry because nuclear waste is being taken by rail to a dump site near the city of Lüneburg. From there, Adrian Britton reports.
Few can remember when a rallying call from Germany's Green Lobby has been answered so forcefully. Today, 10,000 anti-nuclear campaigners swarmed on the northern town of Lüneburg, a peaceful rally, in contrast to the clashes between police and protesters who are attempting to stop the nuclear waste train from reaching its storage depot in North Germany. Along the train's intended route, this is a familiar scene. Riot police guarding the track, which has already been sabotaged by Green militants. Police saying they're ready to respond with water cannon if necessary. The sounds are not those of compromise. The protesters want Germany to abandon nuclear energy, which powers a third of the country's electricity supply.
Nuclear energy is just all stuff that makes your health, that kills you.
Radiate for thousands and million years, and nobody wish what will be with this in the next years.
The marchers are now moving east to Gorleben, where the nuclear consignment is expected to arrive on Monday. Adrian Brisson, ITN, Lüneburg.
From today, learner drivers will have to provide a photograph of themselves when they take their test to prove they are who they say they are. The new rules are an attempt by the Department of Transport to stamp out fraud. Gareth Furby explains.
Until now, as many as 200 tests a year have been taken by qualified drivers posing as learners, but this candidate is genuine with proof of identity.
Have you got your driving licence and your ID with your photograph on, Carol? Thank you. And your driving licence, if you would.
The rules have had to be tightened following the introduction of the new written test, where examiners have found it almost impossible to spot bogus candidates. It was much easier when the test was taken only in a car.
It's very difficult for an experienced driver taking the test for somebody else to drive as a novice would drive, and examiners are experienced and trained to recognise somebody who's trying to drive like a novice.
But from today, everyone taking their test will have to produce either a passport or a photograph, countersigned by a responsible person such as a bank manager or a GP. Gareth Furby, ITN.
1,200 inmates at Wormwood Scrubs have been kept locked in their cells after prison officers mounted a lightning strike in protest at new shift patterns. All visits have been suspended and the inmates are only being allowed out for meal breaks. Scotland Yard is reported to have issued personal safety advice to celebrities, including the actress Vanessa Redgrave, who are thought to have been named on a hit list drawn up by the British neo-Nazi group Combat 18. And a vigil has been held in Hastings in memory of Billie Joe Jenkins, the 13-year-old girl murdered as she painted patio doors at her home there. Hundreds gathered in the town centre and observed a 2-minute silence. Some branches of the Tesco and Safeway supermarket chains are nearing the end of a marathon shopping session, having been open since yesterday morning. It marks the start of round-the-clock opening hours, which could be extended to other branches. Neil Connery reports.
Several supermarkets were open through the night, including Safeway and Tesco stores. In all shops, the night followed a similar pattern. At 7 p.m, the checkouts were busy as usual for a Friday night. But just after midnight, the aisles were clear. And by early morning, some trade was slowly picking up. Customers liked the idea of 24-hour shopping.
We happen to be on our way from Huddersfield to Wimbledon, and we need a few supplies, so it was ideal just off the motorway to pop in.
It is something that more likely will catch on as time goes on, but this suits me quite well because I work late in the evening, so this is quite good, very, very good.
As competition between the stores intensifies, the industry is watching closely.
We had a lot of people that have phoned up and asked about it. We had a lot of people that have come in that seem to be very interested in it, but I think it'll take a while to catch on.
If 24-hour shopping proves successful, it could be extended to other stores across Britain. Neil Connery, ITN.
Now today's sports news, and with the details, here's Phil Mepham.
20 minutes of French flair was enough to destroy England's hopes of a Grand Slam and set the French up as favourites for the Five Nations title. England 20, France 23, it finished. Paul Royal reports.
Crunch time at Twickenham for an England side chasing a third successive championship. Penalties produced the first points, Paul Grayson kicking 3 to set up an early lead. Coach Jack Rowe says he may have to turn his back on England, but his players were offering ample evidence why he should stay. Lawrence Dallaglio producing a brilliant try. After the break, 2 more penalties increased England's lead before the French finally broke through the home side's determined defending. Laflamme scoring. And with 10 minutes left, the game was back on a knife edge. La Maison scoring and converting the try to level the match. Next, the French hero secured a dramatic comeback with this penalty. It meant there was no fairy tale last match at Twickenham for Will Carling. The championship now looks likely to cross the channel. Paul Royal, ITN Sport.
By way of contrast, they were calling Scotland's game with Ireland at Murrayfield the battle to avoid the wooden spoon. Ireland took the lead after 22 minutes when Dennis Hickey scored his second try of the tournament so far. But Scotland soon replied with a try from former rugby league international Alan Tate. It's his first game for Scotland for 9 years. Scotland went into the lead with a penalty and then extended it with a try from Peter Walton. It finished Scotland 38, Ireland 10. So confirmation of the Five Nations table with one round of matches to go. France top then, heirs apparent to the title, 2 points clear of England, and Scotland with that win today off the bottom over Ireland. In football, Manchester United stretched their lead at the top of the English Premiership to 4 points with a comfortable 3-1 win over Coventry at Old Trafford. 2 quick goals set them on their way, the second from Andy Cole, who's right back in form ahead of their European Cup game against Porto on Wednesday. So too is Karol Poborski. He added a third in the second half. Ian Wright put his recent troubles behind him with a goal for Arsenal against Everton at Goodison Park. Dennis Bergkamp was also on target as Arsenal keep the top two in sight with a 2-0 win. And Matthew Le Tissier gave Southampton a 1-0 win at Newcastle. And there was more bad news for Newcastle fans from Kevin Keegan, their manager for 5 years. In an interview with ITV Sport today, he ruled himself out of a return to football and gave his clearest indication yet that he won't be back at St James's.
I'm really enjoying not having to wake up every morning to go into a football club, just as much as I enjoyed doing it in the early years when I was at Newcastle. So I won't go back to St James's. The only time I would think of going back is for Peter Beardsley's testimonial.
In Division 1 of the Football League, Barnsley were one club trying to make ground on leaders Bolton, who play tomorrow. Neil Redfern scored twice for them at Southend. In Scotland, Brian Laudrup was on target for Rangers at Pittodrie, but an own goal by Rangers keeper Andy Goran helped Aberdeen back into the game. It finished 2-2. 2-2 was the final score. Celtic, they lead Hearts 2-0, so they did in fact make ground up on the leaders. Time now then for a full classified roundup of today's football results with Bob Costa.
Beginning with the FA Carling Premiership. Blackburn 1, Sunderland 0. Derby 3, Chelsea 2. Everton 0, Arsenal 2. Leeds 1, West Ham 0. Manchester United 3, Coventry 1. Newcastle 0, Southampton 1. Sheffield Wednesday 3, Middlesbrough 1. Tottenham 0, Nottingham Forest 1. And Wimbledon 1, Leicester 3. Nationwide League Division 1, Bradford 1, Manchester City 3. Grimsby 1, Birmingham 2. Norwich 2, Huddersfield 0. Oxford United 1, Crystal Palace 4. Port Vale 1, Reading 0. Portsmouth 1, Sheffield United 1. Queen's Park Rangers 0, Oldham 1. Southend 1, Barnsley 2. Swindon 1, Charlton 0. And Wolves 0, Ipswich 0. Division 2, Bournemouth 0, Shrewsbury 0. Bristol Rovers 0, Walsall 1. Crewe 3, Gillingham 2. Millwall 2, Wycombe 1. Notts County 1, Brentford 1. Peterborough 1, Chesterfield 1. Plymouth 0, Blackpool 1. Preston 3, Bury 1. Stockport 0, Rotherham 0. Watford 3, Bristol City 0. Wrexham 0, Burnley 0. And York 1, Luton 1. Division 3, Carlisle 1, Lincoln 0. Darlington 2, Brighton 0. Fulham 1, Chester 1. Hartlepool 0, Scunthorpe 1. Hereford 1, Exeter 2. Hull 1, Northampton 1. Leyton Orient 0, Barnet 1. Mansfield 1, Cambridge United 0. And not on the pools, Rochdale 2, Torquay 1. Bell Scottish League, Premier Division. Aberdeen 2, Rangers 2. Celtic 2, Hearts 0. Dundee United 2, Dunfermline 1. Hibernian 1, Motherwell 1. Raith against Kilmarnock as the Pools panel result assessed as a home win. Scottish Division 1, East Fife 1, Dundee 1. Falkirk St Mirren panel result, away win. Greenock Morton 1, Stirling 1. Partick Thistle against Airdrie, panel result, home win. And St Johnstone 1, Clydebank 0. Scottish Division 2, these matches not on the pools.